Hey, welcome to another archive edition of Chad's Beer Podcast. So in this episode, I'm talking with Mark Sinderson, who originally started out as just youtube.com/video beer reviews, which I thought was a great handle, just right to the point. And then later he changed it to BikeBeerBBQ because his channel wasn't just beer reviews, it was also him showing off him riding his cycle. Like he was like a semi-pro or at least a really enthusiastic amateur cyclist. I think he ran in some races or rode in some races. And, he did beer reviews, obviously. He was always showing off his house. I believe he's in Georgia or South Carolina. I'm pretty sure it's Georgia. And he also had a big green egg. I assume he still has it. So he would do videos where he would, like, cook something on the big green egg and then do a food pairing, like, with whatever beer he was reviewing at the time. And actually, if you've ever seen my review of PBR, you can actually watch me watching his review or showing how to make beer brats in that video. And then, me and Henry, at the time we did so you simmer brats in PBR and then you throw them on the grill. And then, so we did PBR and beer brats. And I think that's what I'm going to have for dinner tonight. So anyway, Mark actually wrote a book it's still on Amazon called Beyond the 12 Ounce Curl. So it's basically, for people like me who you drink beer, but you're still trying to lose weight. Looks like it says it's out of print. That's kind of unfortunate. We do mention it. So Mark's channel was nuked a long time ago, but if you go to Joe D Reviews, he does a share a beer show. It's like him and his friends, like I think it's every Friday or Saturday night, and you can see Mark is in there in each one. Let me mute this. Of course, it's going super slow. Yeah, so there's Mark right there. So if you miss Mark and you want to see him again, just go to Joe D's channel. I'll put a link so you can watch it. So actually, Mark and I did two podcasts or interviews, whatever you want to call it, and almost a year to, like, one was it said November 24th, 2010, and then November 14th, 2011. So almost a year to the day. And we did a couple, I know we did at least one beer trade. I remember getting a few Sweetwater beers before we could get them in New York, and some other Georgia beers. And I don't have the unboxing video of that. But anyway, I'm rambling. So without further ado, here is my two interviews with Mark from 2010 and 2011. Hope you enjoy. Bye. Hey, welcome to another episode of Interview with a Craft Beer Enthusiast. Tonight I'm interviewing Mark, better known as BikeBeerBBQ, better known as Video Beer Reviews. Hi, Mark.
Hey, guys.
So which is it? Is it BikeBeerBBQ or Video Beer Reviews, or?
I think it should be really Bike Beer Barbecue. Video Beer Reviews was pre-Bike Beer Barbecue, and now that I have all the subscribers, I really can't change the name. So
yeah,
just think of me as Bike Beer Barbecue.
And that's your domain name too. Mm-hmm. BikeBeerBBQ.com. That's your blog.
Yes. And combining all my passions: biking, beer, and good food / barbecue.
Right. So. Well, I tend to ask everybody the same questions in the same order, so hopefully you come prepared. But you're a little bit older than most of the people that I interview. So I'd be curious what your history with beer is, because I'm willing to bet you went from fizzy yellow beer to craft beer.
Yeah. I started with fizzy yellow beer just like everybody did. In my case, it was Iron City, Schaefer, and I think it was probably Schlitz were the three beers that I drank. And then when I went to college, pretty much the same type of beers. Coors was added in there, Bud. But I kind of, I guess, graduated to craft beers in my junior year of college, when there was a beer barn in the town where the school was in Fort Collins that had 120 different beers from all over the world. So that was kind of my epiphany as far as craft beer.
Right. Now, did you start out as just another user on Beer Advocate or Rate Beer, or did you just go straight to having your own blog?
I started off on Beer Advocate. I might have, 30 or 40 reviews on Beer Advocate.
Right.
And I got away from it. I started that maybe in 2004, 2005. Did a few did a few reviews, took a while off, did a few more, took a while off, and then got into had the bright idea to do the video beer reviews on YouTube in 2008, which is so about 2 years I've been on YouTube.
Right. So what was the impetus to go onto YouTube? Because I find that most people are just like, I don't want to just be another anonymous user on the internet. It's to actually put your face out there is, takes a lot of guts. So what was your inspiration behind that?
I think it was a little bit about just kind of trying to share my love of beer, and I thought I was the only one that was doing it. To be honest, I got on there, I was like, wow, there's a bunch of people doing this, but it was really, I guess, twofold. One is I wanted to kind of promote the blog that I was doing, which was related to beer and barbecue, and then secondarily was, hey, I've had a bunch of beers, I've enjoyed a bunch of different beer. Maybe I can, share that with other people, and I'm not afraid to show my face on the internet, obviously. So,
right,
that really didn't bother me.
Right. One thing I've always admired about your videos is that you seem to be able to fit your whole review of the beer in about 8 or 9 minutes with like next to no edits. Mm-hmm. At the time that you're reviewing a beer, like what's going through your mind as far as, do you ever think like, oh man, I should cut that out, or?
I think that's one of the, you hit on it. I think one of the unique things that I try to do is try to just do the whole thing one cut straight through.
Right.
And so when I'm reviewing a beer, my mind is kind of at the point where I'm just really concentrating on what am I smelling, what am I tasting, and how can I communicate that like straight through. I don't do a lot of editing. Almost probably 95% of the videos that I post, I don't edit much except for the very beginning. A few seconds at the very beginning and the very end. Other than that,
right.
I just try to go in one cut all the way through. And I think for the most part it works. Every once in a while it doesn't, but
right. You've done a lot of traveling over the last couple of years, or since I've been watching you. I know you met up with Jody out in, was it Colorado or New Mexico?
Yeah, he's in Albuquerque.
And, but you went there for other reasons, like you...
Yeah, we were out there. We have family that lives out in, family and friends that still live out in Colorado, so...
Right.
And we try to get out there probably about once a year. So that was an easy one, to just make the extra drive down to Albuquerque to see Joe.
Yeah.
And then we were out in San Francisco this year and met up with Yuchi Tuba, which was really fun.
Wow.
So yeah, I just try to tie that in a little bit if I'm in the area, and if I ever get up to New York, I'm going to meet up with you and Jay and Janos the Fats too.
Yeah. What is your rationale and your criteria for what makes good beer good?
I think the things I look for when I try beer is, first off, is it drinkable? And most craft beers kind of fit into that just by their nature, unless there's something wrong with the beer. Beyond that, the thing I look for is how do the aroma, the smell of the beer, and the taste of the beer, how do they blend? I mean, do they make sense, and do they work together? How does the beer look? I mean, I think appearance of the beer is a big factor. I mean, if something looks good, you're probably going to enjoy it a little bit more.
Right.
And then just, how does it drink? I mean, do you enjoy drinking it? How does it feel in the mouth? And a good beer to me is something that just kind of mixes all that together, and it's almost a seamless experience. You're not noticing one thing or another. Particularly, it just is all good and all mixes together very well.
Right. And something that you do that's a little different than everybody else is that you kind of have like the rate beer or the beer advocate system of where you break it down into little categories, and it's like what on a scale of like 1 to 50, and I'm not sure which
is the high one.
Right. Can you explain that a little better? Like, what was your like with me? I just go 1 to 10. Like while I do take appearance and aroma and things like that into consideration, I just kind of just add them all up together mentally. Can you explain your reasoning behind the individual?
Yeah, The biggest thing, obviously, is does the beer taste good? So out of my 50 points, I assign 20 possible points to taste. The other categories are a maximum of 10. That would be appearance, smell, and drinkability. And I just try to, as I'm drinking the beer, that's kind of what I'm going through in my head is, how does it look? How does it smell? How does it taste? And how drinkable is it? And because I think it's different. A beer can taste fantastic, but if it doesn't smell great or it doesn't look good in the glass, that has an effect on the final score. Right. Although that being said, though, most of the beers that I review, if they're decent craft beers, they kind of they fall in that 4-mug rating for me, which is above average, a good drinkable beer. Right. 5 mugs are rare. 3 mug, 2 mugs, and 1 mugs. Hopefully, I don't drink those too often.
Yeah, like you said, the 5 mug beers are rare. I've seen them on your show. What does it take for a beer to get the 5 mug from you? It
basically has to blow me away. Right. It has to look great in the glass. It has to be very, very drinkable. Even if it is a higher alcohol, the alcohol has to be well hidden, and it just has to drink very easily. And then the aroma, the smell and the taste have to be just kind of off the charts. I mean, something where I smell the beer and I taste the beer and I just kind of say, wow, this is fantastic. And they have to be similar. So if it smells fantastic, but the taste is different than the aroma, that doesn't qualify. So everything just kind of has to be really good and mixed together really well. That's kind of a 5 mug beer for me.
How many 5 mugs do you give out in a given year, you think?
I think I've done maybe 15 or 16 out of the almost 300 beers that I've reviewed.
Wow.
Most of them are stouts, imperial stouts, and there's a couple IPAs in there. And that's my bias. I like imperial stouts, porters, and IPAs. Those are probably my 3 favorite styles.
Yeah, that was my next question. I mean, because when I first started watching you, you were always doing IPAs, and then usually in the colder months is that you get big into Russian Imperials and oatmeals and any other kind of big end stouts. Would you say that you're like a hophead, a malt head, or just like an appreciator of all styles?
I think I can honestly say I like pretty much every style of beer, other than maybe a really strong Rausch beer. The smoky beers, if it's over the top smoky, I don't like it. And chili beers maybe too. But other than that, I like just about every style of beer. But I like stouts, the imperial, the real chocolatey coffee flavors, and then I do love hops. So those are probably the 3. But I enjoy beers from just about every other style too.
There's definitely an objectiveness to beer as far as like quality, but even quality is open to interpretation. So it's like when you and I are rating, and I even use like that word loosely, rating beer, grading beer, judging beer, whatever, like what I consider higher quality, you might consider lower, vice versa. At what point does a personal bias or preference or whatever transform into reality, if it does at all? So like when you go on Rate Beer and Beer Advocate and things like that, and they have like the world's greatest beers, like do you buy into that, or do you just say, well, that's just a survey, things like that? Like what's your opinion on this subject? It's hard
I think ultimately whether you like a beer or not is going to be based on your own personal experience, from what you've had in the past, what you enjoy, what you don't enjoy. When I see a list like, world's greatest beer, that to me that means that they're probably good, well-made beers, and they probably taste fine. But I'll leave the final judge up to me drinking it, because I think probably well over half of what you get out of a beer is just purely psychological, based on the time of day, the mood you're in, what you had for breakfast. I mean, there's just so many factors that go into it. So a beer
Breakfast.
that's the world's best is probably a really good beer, but it might not be the best for me or for anybody else.
Like, how do you personally like spread the gospel of craft beer? You know, like you probably don't. Well, maybe I think you might run into more of the BMC drinkers than I do, and you know, what's your reaction when you run into a BMC drinker that's just like, I just want fizzy yellow beer? How can you
Yeah.
drink that stuff? It tastes like wood or whatever.
I I don't. Um, my typical response to somebody like that is, "Wow, all I've had is Budweiser, and it's the best beer in the world."
Right.
That's great. You love Budweiser, but man, there's a lot of other good beers out there that really should deserve at least some attention from you to try. And I try to recommend something that might be a reasonable step up for that person. Maybe a good craft brewed lager or pale ale or something like that.
Right.
That they can try. And I've had a few people come back and say, I tried that beer that you recommended and I really liked it. So thank you for kind of showing me that there's something else beyond whatever it is that they used to like before. Um, I think all beer has its place. I mean, I'll drink in the middle of the summer if it's 90 degrees and humid. I'll drink a Bud or any of
Right.
the macro beers, and it'll be refreshing.
And you
But
have.
yeah, I have, and that's fine. But my preference is for a well brewed craft beer.
Right.
90% of the time.
Right.
So
That's one of the other things I wanted to, because me, you, and a couple other people, like we're consider ourselves craft beer fans first, but we're not. What we will still do the occasional macro.
mhm.
What was your rationale behind doing that? Is it just for kicks, or are you like one day hoping to actually be surprised and be like, wow, I'm surprised that's actually that good?
Yeah, I think part of it comes because I drank a lot of macro beers. When I was in college,
Right.
and I enjoyed some of them. Some of them were terrible. But I mean, a well brewed macro beer. I mean, like PBR. Bud is okay. Coors I think is better than Bud, but PBR, Schlitz, some of the other macros are
Yeah.
decent beers in their, at the right time. And for me, if it's hot, it's humid, it's a summer day, those are great beers for that.
You're coming up on your 2-year anniversary, or have you already passed it on YouTube?
I'll be 2 years in into January of 2011. So yep, coming up on 2 years.
Right. Now, what would you say is the if you have a goal of your channel, or are you just constantly changing as you go, or anything
I
you
think
hope to accomplish?
Yeah, the goal for me is to keep trying new beers, kind of spread the word about craft beer. Um, Other than that, if I can just respond to as many comments as I can on the channel, let people know that good beer does exist out there,
Right.
and kind of create a dialogue. I mean, that's my main goal, and just keep enjoying good beer. As long as I keep enjoying craft beer, I'll probably keep making videos about doing it. So
What would you say you've learned in the last 2 years from doing this?
I think that the biggest thing I've learned is that there's so much variety out there,
Right.
both in beer and in opinions on that beer. And it's amazing to me where I'll get comments on videos I did over a year ago saying, "Oh, that beer sucks," or "That's the best beer ever."
Right.
And so that's kind of cool. I mean, I think it's really neat when people are searching for a beer review that you did over a year ago and are making a comment on it.
Yeah.
I mean, that lets me know that interest in beer is good, and I think it's increasing. So
Mhm.
I'm happy with that.
Well, I guess that about wraps it up. Do you want to plug? I know you have a webpage, Twitter, YouTube.
Yeah, my blog is BikeBeerBBQ.com. That's kind of the main thing. From there you can follow me on Twitter. Obviously, follow me here on YouTube. My book Beyond the 12-ounce curl should be coming out in the next month or so. But I'll do a video and kind of promote that here in the next couple weeks once I have a firm date on when it's going to be available. So stay tuned for that.
Okay, well, have a nice Thanksgiving, which is coming up, and
Yes.
are you gonna do like a top 10 best and worst of the year kind of thing, or?
I probably will. I haven't thought too much about it, but I think I will come up with something to do for the end of the year.
Yeah.
I've got a lot of beer reviews to go through, so I need to figure out which ones I like. Which ones kind of make the cut for that video. So.
Okay, well, that was Mark Sinderson. Did I say it right?
Yes, you did.
Of BikeBeerBBQ of YouTube video beer reviews. So thanks for doing the interview, Mark, and hopefully this'll. You actually passed me in subscribers, so congratulations on that.
Oh, well, thank you, Chad.
Yeah. So I guess I don't need to drive any more traffic to you. You drive traffic to me. So thanks for being here, and I'll see you guys. I'll see you real soon. All right.
All right.
Bye.
Thanks, Chad.
Hey, welcome to another episode of Interview with a Craft Beer Enthusiast. This is the 2011 edition interview with Mark Sinderson, better known as Video Beer Reviews here on YouTube.
Hey, Chad.
Mark.
Good.
Yeah, we did an interview just about a year ago, and at the time you were finishing up or getting a book published called Beyond the 12-Ounce Curl. It's like a fitness and diet book for like people like me who like beer but want to diet and exercise, right?
Yeah.
And you said it came out like in January.
Yeah, right around the first week of January. So it's going on a year at this point.
Yeah. So I mean, I guess the question would be like, what made you want to write the book?
Well, I mean, I'd always been interested in fitness. I mean, for the last 30 years. I mean, pretty much ever since high school. And I'd wanted to write a book about fitness. And then I started doing the beer reviews, and I'm like, hey, there's a lot of beer drinkers that could probably want to look at a book on fitness that's kind of geared towards beer drinkers, because none of the other stuff out there really addresses the unique demands of a beer lover. So I figured I would kind of combine those two together and come up with a book that was fun to read and kind of lighthearted, but maybe gave some basic guidelines on how to drink beer and still maintain a healthy lifestyle.
Yeah. So how long did it actually take to write? Like, what was your? Did it start out as like a side project whenever you had time to do it, or was it something that you had pitched to a publisher and then like how did the writing process go? I guess is the question.
I got the idea or decided to start writing it maybe February of last year. And I said, hey, that'd be kind of fun. I'll start writing it. So I started, doing a little bit here and there. And after about 2 or 3 months, I had, 8,000 or 10,000 words. And I was like, wow, this could actually turn into something. Mm-hmm. So I sent out letters of inquiry to publishers, and nobody responded. Nobody was really interested in it. So I just kept writing. And it kept getting bigger and bigger, and by the summer of last year, I was up to 25,000, 30,000 words. I'm like, wow, I might actually be able to finish this thing. So I really focused last August on getting it all done, and then I started finding ways to self-publish the book, get an illustrator for the cover, that type of thing. And then, the last few months of the year just kind of pulled it all together.
So it is like self-published? It's
self-published or on-demand published. I don't pre-print. I use a company that fulfills the orders as they come in from Amazon and then ships directly to the people that buy the book. So I don't have to buy books and then resell. It's just set up through Amazon. Somebody buys the book. Amazon. I think Amazon keeps 10 or 15 copies in stock, and outside of that, they can just reorder and off it goes. So,
and it's an ebook too, right?
Yes, it is available on Kindle format, and also as an EPUB through my website, BikeBeerBBQ.com.
Right. So how you don't have to give exact numbers, but like, how would you say sales have been going? Did they meet or exceed your expectations?
They are meeting my expectations. everything I've heard about self-published books is that it really takes about a year or two for them to really just kind of hit their stride.
Right.
Especially in my case, because I work full time and have other stuff, so I'm not really promoting the book really. So some weeks I'll sell 4 or 5, other weeks I won't sell any. But overall, it's selling. I'm getting positive feedback on it, and I'm at the point now where I've made back my initial investment for editing and printing and stuff. So
now it's just all profit from here.
Yeah.
Now, have you been doing any publicity for the book, like Today Show or anything like that called?
No, I've done a few radio interviews. I did one in California and one in Oregon, kind of beer shows out there that they found my book, and did a half-hour spot. And that was kind of interesting. I mean, immediately after that, I can track where the sales come from. So within a few days of that, there was an uptick in sales in that particular area. So I still send out stuff to radio shows, and I'll probably hit that again once we get past the new year, once I have a little bit more time. So.
What about like Men's Health or Men's Fitness or any of those like magazines? Like,
no, I haven't really approached any of those at this point. I've just been kind of focusing on smaller local market radio shows, maybe beer-oriented shows, or small men's fitness type of shows.
Right.
And the response has been pretty good, but I just haven't, with a full-time job and everything, it's just, I'll spend maybe an hour or two every couple of weeks working on it. So.
Right. And you're also a big, bicycling enthusiast. Mm-hmm. Have you thought about like doing a book about bicycling?
That's on my list of things to do, but I'm kind of sick of riding at this point. I might wait another year or so before I start that. But I do have some ideas.
Yeah.
And I've got some sketches and some outlines and stuff sitting on the hard drive. So
yeah.
I'll maybe next year I'll start digging into it and seeing if I can come up with something.
Right. All right. Well, enough book questions. Let's get into some beer questions. Specifically BeerTube. I think, what's your anniversary on YouTube? January?
Yeah, it's going to be January, so this coming January will be 3 years.
Okay. Now, how would you say you've evolved as both a beer tuber and as like a craft beer enthusiast appreciator in the last 2-3 years? Like, do you ever go back and watch your first episodes and be like, oh, what was I thinking?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I think the biggest thing is my palate and how I taste beer and appreciate beer has improved over the last few years.
Right.
Even when I just drink beer, even when I'm not doing a review, I just enjoy it more than I did before.
Yeah.
And so I really think that doing the reviews increases your appreciation of beer. So that's the biggest thing that's changed. I mean, it's just still fun to do. And I think I've gotten a lot better at doing the videos. I try to answer all the comments and get the feedback, and I'm still having fun doing it. So I don't see changing anything really as we move forward. Yeah.
I think I asked you this last time, but I can't remember. Like, you do the King Can macro lager beer reviews every once in a while.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why do you actually do those?
The main reason I did it was to try to get more viewers of the channel.
Right.
I figured a lot more people are looking for reviews on Bud and all the other macro because more people drink that. So I figured if I did a few of those, people would search for it, find the channel, and watch. And maybe they would actually watch some of the craft beer reviews and maybe change their ways a little bit and drink good beer. Yeah, and I've been surprised by a few of the macros, and it's not craft beer, but like I say, it's not craft, but it's not crap either.
Right.
I mean, it's drinkable. It's just not what I would drink every day.
What would you say is the worst beer you've had, either on the show or in general?
On the show, I think the worst beer I've had is probably Bud Light Lime. Maybe Mickey's Malt Liquor.
Yeah.
Although I think that was better than Bud Light Lime. The worst beer I've ever had it's probably going to be a tie between Falstaff, which was brewed in Arizona back in the 70s and 80s, and that was a college beer.
Yeah.
And another beer in college used to Safeway, which they don't have back east, but Safeway grocery stores had a beer, their generic beer. It was called Scotch By. And it was just this little white can with this Scottish guy on it. And it was $2.50 a 6-pack or something. And
Well,
oh my gosh, was it terrible.
you haven't done a video with your Big Green Egg in a while.
No.
How's it doing?
I was just using it tonight. I just made some ribs tonight, actually. I've got a few things that I've been thinking about. I'll probably do one sometime between Thanksgiving and Christmas will be the next one that I do. Probably a Christmas or holiday themed one.
Yeah. You cook
And
your Thanksgiving turkey on that thing?
I'm going to do the turkey on the egg this year.
Wow.
I'm going to get, smoke it 4 or 5 hours on Big Green Egg. And it's a great way to do a turkey.
2011's almost over. 2012's coming up. Do you have any? Well, obviously, if you have any surprises, you don't want to reveal them here. But do you have any plans or goals that you see yourself doing over the next 6 to 12 months, or even the next month or two?
Yeah, I mean, I think as far as the channel's concerned, I'm going to still try to do typically 2 beer reviews a week. Get a couple of the food and beer pairings in there. I've been doing a lot of stuff with photography. That was kind of a passion of mine that I had 15 years ago, and I got back into it. So
Right.
I'm going to try to integrate that a little bit into just my non-beer tube life.
Yeah.
Other than that, just trying to keep a good balance between doing the beer and work and life and everything else that comes around, and hopefully take a couple trips next year and keep enjoying beer.
I was just about to ask that. You tend to go on 1 or 2 trips far away once a year. Any plans to come up to New York anytime soon, or the Northeast?
I think 2012 might have some opportunity for that, because one area that we'd like to do is to get up into the Northeast, especially early fall for the fall colors.
Right.
So if it can work out, I mean, that might be a good trip to do next year. Is New York City, maybe Boston, and then go up into the mountains for some color.
Are there any bike races around here?
Oh, I'm sure there are, but I've got enough down here.
All right. Well, I guess that about wraps it up with the 2011 interview with Mark. Do you want to plug your Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, website? BikeBeerBBQ.com
is the blog. You can get a copy of your very own copy of Beyond the 12-Ounce Pearl. So check out the blog there. If you're into photography, I just started a photography blog, marksphotographyspot.com. So check that out. And other than that, I'm enjoying this, and I'm going to keep doing beer reviews, so keep commenting, and we'll have fun.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us, and I'll see you around.
All right. Take care, Chad.
Bye.
Yeah.